Hello everyone, this is Bob Hanlon bringing you a Senior Center sponsored program called Armchair Travels. This is the first of two programs. Today's program will cover a trip that I took to Russia, to Moscow and St. Petersburg in 2014. And then on August 13th, we will be covering another trip that I took to Iceland. So first of all, before we get started, I would like to apologize to any Russian speakers for, I'm sure, the Russian names that I will most probably mispronounce. So with that, let's get started and we can show you some great pictures. Okay, this is a picture of what's called the Luzikov Bridge in Moscow. It's a popular site for marriages. And one of the things that makes it very popular is something called love trees. Love trees are metal trees in which couples hang padlocks with their names, engraved with their names as a symbol for their everlasting love. You can take a closer look here. You see all the padlocks. You can see in the background the view of the river runs through Moscow, and it provides a great view of the city. You may ask what happens if a couple gets divorced. I don't know. Perhaps the padlock gets removed. I'm not sure. Okay, moving on. What we see in front of us is the Tretrekoff State Gallery. The Tretrekoff State Gallery is the national treasure of is a national treasure of Russian fine art and one of the greatest museums in the world. Its collection consists entirely of Russian art, and it contains more than 180,000 works of painting, sculpture, and graphics. Okay, what we're looking at here is a picture of outside of the gallery. You can see all the tour buses lined up outside, and those golden spires that you see in the background there, I believe, are one of the Kremlin churches, which we'll talk about later. Moving on inside of the Tretrekoff Gallery, we see here a picture of Empress Anna Ionovna. She ruled from 1730 to 1740 after the death of Peter II. So that's Empress Anna. Moving on from Empress Anna, we have a painting here of a gentleman called A.B. Kurakin. Alexander Kurakin was a Russian statesman and diplomat. Moving on, we see a picture, a painting, I'm sorry, called The Appearance of Christ to the People. This painting by Alexander Ivanov took 20 years to complete. The narrative of the painting is based on the first chapter of the Gospel according to John. You can take a look there at that painting. Moving on, we have a painting here called, a famous painting called The Unequal Marriage. The message in this painting by Basil remains a mystery to this day. Who is the girl? Who was the gloomy, handsome man standing behind her, giving the room a look of hatred and desperation. Some say he may represent the artist himself. The painting certainly seems to depict a young, sad bride being married to a much older, rich man. But we don't know. Much of the painting still remains a mystery. Take a look at that. Okay, moving on. This painting is called Sledding on the Neba. The Neba is a river that runs through St. Petersburg, and we will be showing you pictures from that area later in the program. Sledding on the Neba. Okay, this is a famous painting. It's called Yana Morizova. Yeah. Federica Morizova, pictured in this painting, was a member of the Old Believers movement. This was a group that protested the reforms of the Russian Orthodox Church to bring it more in line with Greek Orthodox worship. The painting shows her being arrested. In the painting, she is shown raising two fingers, a protest to the new way of using three fingers to make the sign of the cross. For her crimes, she was tortured and later died in prison. I think it's not a good idea to resist the authorities in, at least the church in those days. Okay, moving on. We have a painting here called The Morning of the Execution of the Stretsky. This painting by Basil Tretrekoff depicts the public execution of the Stretsky after their failed rebellion. The Stretsky were a group of 2,300 elite Russian soldiers, and they were protesting their living conditions at the time. And they went they traveled to Moscow, where they met with the former regent, Sophia, who was at the time secluded in a convent. And they were sort of conspiring to try to get rid of Peter the Great, or at least change their conditions. Peter didn't take kindly to this, and he raised a group of soldiers that were loyal to him, and there was a battle in which the Stretsky were defeated, and as a result, much of the Stretsky were executed, and that's what this painting shows, them being executed outside the Kremlin walls. You can see there in the background St. Basil's Cathedral. So this is like Red Square in Moscow, okay, at the time. Okay, moving on. What we're looking at here is we've left the Tretrekoff Gallery, and we're in Red Square, and we're looking at the Kremlin walls. To the left, you can see the Kremlin walls. This is Red Square. You can see in the distance there, you can see the Kremlin clock tower. Okay, this is a closer view looking directly at the Kremlin clock tower and that entrance. And here again, we're looking at the outside, looking down the expanse of Red Square with the Kremlin walls on the left. Right. What we're looking at here is St. Basil's Cathedral. This famous Moscow church in Red Square was built from 1555 to 1561 on orders of Ivan the Terrible. During communist rule, the church was seized by the state as part of the Soviet Union's anti-religious campaigns and has operated as a museum since 1928. Under Soviet communist rule, many churches were seized by the state and put to secular use. Most now are back to use as churches, while others serve as museums. Here's a closer up view of St. Basil's. You may ask what the statues here, the sculptures on the left are, and I think I knew it one time, but I'm afraid I have forgotten. So that's St. Basil's. So let's take a look inside. Here we're inside St. Basil's, looking at some of the exhibits. The gentleman here that you see on the right was our tour guide. He's not sure where this was. These were hats that were worn by the clergy, or what they were. Here you see some kind of a gown or vestment that was most probably worn by the clergy. Here we see a picture of the ceiling inside, the colorful ceiling inside St. Basil's. You may ask where were services performed in there, where the altar and icons and things like that, and they were not available for our viewing. Okay, what we're looking is a window from St. Basil's looking towards downtown Moscow. You see the downtown Moscow there. Here at street level, outside St. Basil's, we're looking towards downtown Moscow. What we're looking at here is, this is at night, is the picture of the Novovichi convent, okay? This convent was founded in 1524. It's now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Under Soviet communist rule, the convent was converted to secular use, and some of its buildings were managed by the State Historical Museum. But now it's back to use as a convent. At the time of the Tsars, there were many women that were imprisoned here, or at least secluded in this convent and forced to join it because they were out of favor with the royal family, out of favor with the Tsars. So if you were a woman and you fell out of favor, or the Tsars thought you were some kind of a threat, you were sent to the convent. Here's another nighttime picture here, taken outside of the convent. This is a picture of downtown Moscow, taken from a hill outside the city. Here this is a nighttime picture looking towards the city. And I believe the building with the spire directly ahead is Moscow University, but I couldn't swear to it. But this is Moscow at night. What we're looking at here is Victory Park in Moscow. This is a World War II memorial. The park commemorates World War II, known in Russia as the Great Patriotic War, as well as the victory of 1812 over Napoleon. This is another picture inside Victory Park. The park has three museums, 10 memorials, and 4 houses of worship. So it's a big area. Okay, we're now outside again, Moscow night. As you can see, it's raining. Gentleman there on the right wearing a poncho. Here's a picture of St. Basil's at night. You can see St. Basil's on the right and the Kremlin walls on your left. Here is a picture of our tour group entering the Kremlin. Yes, you can enter the Kremlin. Now, inside the Kremlin, we're showing a building here with some ceremonial cannon here on the left. Here's a closer view showing the ceremonial cannon. Here we can see some of the buildings inside the Kremlin. It's quite a large area. Okay, what we're looking at here, that cannon directly ahead is known as the Tsar Cannon. The cannon was cast in bronze in 1586. It's a ceremonial cannon and has never been used in a war. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, it's the largest bombard by caliber in the world. It's over 17 feet long and weighs 39 tons. You're not going to move that very far. Okay, this building we see directly in front of us is the Assumption Cathedral. There are a number of churches inside the Kremlin walls. The Assumption Cathedral is also known as the Cathedral of the Dormition. Is a Russian Orthodox church dedicated to the Dormition of the Theotokos. That's certainly a mouthful, but what Dormition means is it's Mary's, Mother of Gods, leaving this earth. And the Theotokos refers to, that's the name of Mary in Eastern Christianity. The cathedral is regarded as the mother church of Muscovite Russia. Moving on. What this is this bell directly ahead is known as the Tsar Bell. The Tsar Bell is 20 feet tall, 22 feet in diameter, made of bronze, and it weighs over 445,000 pounds. This is the third Tsar Bell ever constructed. Previous bells were destroyed by fire. It was built from 1733 to 1735. Unfortunately, during construction, a fire broke out and guards threw cold water on the bell, causing several large cracks. It's never been used or run. Tsar bells were not used to announce church services. Instead, they were used to announce ceremonies and to sound the alarm in case of attack by foreign soldiers or a fire. What we're looking at here is this church is called the Patriarch's Palace. The Patriarch's Palace is also known as the Patriarchal Chambers and the Church of the 12 Apostles. And it was commissioned by Patriarch Nikon as part of his stately residence in 1653, and later dedicated to Philip the Apostle. So Patriarch Nikon lived here. Okay, so he was I believe he was the head of the Russian Church, but anyways, he was a high official in the Russian Church. What we're looking at here is the picture of the Annunciation Cathedral. The Cathedral of the Annunciation was dedicated to the Annunciation of the Theotokos, or as Mary, Mother of God, is known in Eastern Christianity. It was built from 1484 to 1480, and it was originally the personal chapel of the Muscovite Tsars. So the Tsars worshipped here. It is only occasionally now used for religious services. Okay, that's a closer view of the cathedral. This is another view of the Assumption Cathedral. You can go into these churches, but they don't allow taking pictures. Okay, what we're moving on, what we're looking at here are pictures of the Kremlin gardens. Some very beautiful gardens here on the Kremlin grounds. More pictures here of the in the gardens. Some more pictures. Here we're in the Kremlin Gardens again, looking back towards the Tsar Bell. You can see that in the distance. Moving on, we're going to visit the Moscow subway system. The Moscow subway system is quite a bit different than the Boston subway system. It's almost a museum in itself. You can see the columns here, the train on the left. Here we can see some of the artwork on the ceiling in the subway station. Here is another subway station. You can see the elaborate ceiling there. A closer view of the ceiling. showing the artwork here. Here we have another station with stained glass windows. These stations were kept very, very clean, not very much litter at all. Here's another close-up of the stained glass windows in this station. Not exactly Park Street in the Boston subway system. Okay, moving on here, another picture, another artwork here along the wall. Not exactly sure what this means. I did know at one time, but I've forgotten. There's another view here of another station. Chandeliers there hanging from the ceiling, the artwork on the ceiling. Closer view of some of this artwork on the ceiling. Okay, moving on. What we're looking at here is the Moscow train station, where our tour group is about to take the train to St. Petersburg. And the following pictures from now on will be of St. Petersburg. Okay. Okay. What we're looking at here is the outside of the Peter and Paul Fortress. The Peter and Paul Fortress is the original citadel of St. Petersburg. It was built between 1703 and 1740 by orders of Peter the Great to protect the new capital from a Swedish attack during the Northern War. It's now run as a museum, except for one building, which is the St. Petersburg Mint. Starting in 1720, the fort served as a base for the city garrison and as a prison for high-ranking or political prisoners. The fortress contains the Peter and Paul Cathedral, which is the burial place of many of Russia's czars. You can see it's raining here, people with their umbrellas. Inside, we see there with a tall spire. That is the Peter and Paul Cathedral, which we will be showing pictures of inside in a bit. Here are some of the buildings in the fortress. Cathedral here is on the right. Here we're looking through a gate here into another building. On the right, you see the cathedral. Right now, what we're doing is we're entering the jail. Again, this was a place for political prisoners or high-ranking prisoners at the time. Not exactly a very inviting place. I guess I wouldn't be happy in that bed. Okay, what we're looking at here is some of the fortifications here and the outside and the walls here of the fortress. Moving on, now we are moving inside of the Peter and Paul Cathedral. The cathedral is the first and oldest landmark in St. Petersburg and was built between 1712 and 1733 on the grounds of the Peter and Paul Fortress. Its gold-painted spire is 404 feet tall and features at its top an angel holding a cross. The cathedral is dedicated to Saints Peter and Paul, the patron saints of the fortress. Okay. The cathedral was turned into a museum in 1924, but still has some religious services. The cathedral houses the remains of almost all of the Russian emperors and empresses, from Peter the Great to Nicholas II and his family. You can see the sculptures and gold artwork here inside. Beautiful chandelier. A little closer view of some of this sculpture and artwork. You can see some icons here, but this church is different from other churches that you see, at least that we saw in Russia, in that there is not that many icons. Here's a really closer up view. You can see this golden sculptures, just beautiful. Okay, a view here towards the ceiling. I believe that's a skylight up there that you see up there. What we're looking at here is the caskets or burial vaults here of the Russian emperors and empresses. So Catherine the Great, Peter the Great, and many of the other czars are here. Their remains are here. What we're looking at here is the burial place of Nicholas II and his family. Nicholas was the last Russian Tsar killed during the revolution. And what remains were able to be found for him and his family are entombed here. Okay, what we're looking at here is the St. Isaac's Cathedral. This cathedral, now a museum, was completed in 1858 and is dedicated to St. Isaac of Dalmatia, a patron saint of Peter the Great. Let's move in a little closer here. You can see the elaborate church door here. They don't make doors like that anymore. Not church doors anyways, or other doors perhaps either. Okay, moving on inside the church. And here, different from the Peter and Paul Cathedral, you can see many icons. Beautiful chandelier there on the right. Moving back, you get another view here, showing all the icons on the wall. Leave a stained glass window there directly ahead. Beautiful marble there. Looking towards the ceiling, see some of the painting on the ceiling there. Moving back, we can have a view from the inside of the church at that entrance door. Another view looking up towards the ceiling. You see that chandelier there in the middle. Okay, moving on. What we are looking at here is a church called the Church of the Savior on Spilled Blood. The church was constructed between 1883 and 1907 on the site where political nihilists assassinated Emperor Alexander II in March of 1881. The church was funded by the Romanov imperial family in honor of Alexander II. So after his assassination, the Romanov family funded the construction of this church in his honor. Okay. Moving inside, see in the church here, beautiful doorway here with icons to the left and right. Beautiful floor here, beautiful tile floor. Another view here showing the, along one of the walls here, showing the many icons. Chandelier here, chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, beautiful chandeliers. Another view here of some of the icons along the walls. Here you see these columns here with icons running on all sides, leading towards what looks like I'm not sure, an altar there, or at least a window. You see the beautiful ceiling there. Okay, moving on. What we're looking at here is the outside wall of the Hermitage Museum. The Hermitage is the second largest art museum in the world. It was founded as an art museum in 1764 by Catherine the Great. Before this became an art museum, this was the Winter Palace. It was the residence in St. Petersburg of the Tsars. And what Catherine did is she had an art collection and she needed a place to store it. So she had an additional building added to the Winter Palace, and she called it the Hermitage. Now what was the Winter Palace and the building that she added is now all one building called the Hermitage. So it's now called the Hermitage Museum. But at one time, most of it was the Winter Palace. Okay, so moving on here. I should mention that the Hermitage has over 3 million items, including the largest collection of paintings in the world. So we're looking at here is the outside street view of the Hermitage Museum on the left. Here Here we're looking at another view of the outside of the Hermitage Museum. This is looking at it from the Neba River that runs alongside. You see the tour buses here lined up. You see the sculptures there on the near the roof. Okay, moving on inside of the Hermitage. What we're looking at here is known as the Jordan Staircase. It's called the Jordan Staircase because on the Feast of the Epiphany, the Tsar would descend this staircase for the ceremony of the blessing of the waters of the Neba River. And this was actually a celebration of Christ's baptism in the Jordan River. So that's why it's called the Jordan Staircase. So moving on up the Jordan Staircase, you can see the beautiful columns here. You see the artwork on the ceiling, sculpture here on the left, beautiful chandeliers. Okay, we can see the closer view here of the ceiling. Just beautiful. What we're looking at here is called, we're in a room called the Small Throne Room. This room was created for Tsar Nicholas I in 1833. And you can see the throne here with a painting behind it directly ahead. That's the Small Throne Room. Okay, moving on. What we're entering here is, this room is called St. George's Hall. It's also known as the Great Throne Room and was one of the largest staterooms in the Winter Palace. It was the principal throne room and the scene of many of the most formal ceremonies of the imperial court. You can see beautiful chandeliers there. You see the work on the golden leaf on the ceiling. Here's a closer view of the actual throne in the St. George's Hall or the Great Throne Room. Okay, moving on, we have a beautiful view of a mosaic tile floor, the artwork here. And somebody put a little bit of work into that. Moving on, what I believe what we have here is we're exiting the St. George's Hall there. We see a beautiful malachite vase, green vase there. Moving on, another room here, beautiful doorway here. With a fireplace, clock, and mirror. Not sure what this room is, but that's certainly a beautiful doorway. Moving on. Okay, what we have here. Lost my place here. Is This painting is by Leonardo da Vinci, and it is called Madonna and Child by da Vinci. A somewhat valuable painting. This is another painting by Leonardo da Vinci called Madonna with a Flower. Madonna with a Flower. Okay, this is a painting of a nude. I am not sure what the artist is or the title, but that's another painting here. What we're looking at here is Raphael's Logias, and this is an exact copy of what is found in the Vatican. So Raphael's Logias, an exact copy. Beautiful. Look at that. Look at that artwork on the ceiling and the arches. Moving on, what we're looking at here is a painting called The Holy Family by Raphael. The Holy Family. Another priceless work of art. Moving on, I'm not sure who the artist is here. The painting appears to be a woman holding a book, perhaps the Bible, with a child there. Perhaps angels there in the background. I'm sure I think the painting has certainly has a religious theme, but I'm not sure. I don't know the title or the artist. Okay. What we're looking at here is the what's known as the large Italian skylight room. This large room is lit from a skylight above, and it's filled with Italian art. Beautiful, beautiful vase there. Tables. Beautiful chandeliers or artwork along the walls. If you look towards the scale of the ceiling, you can see that elaborate artwork there. Let's get a little closer view. Okay. You can see there again a closer view of the ceiling, the artwork along the walls. There's a skylight there. You can see can't quite see the skylight, but it's shining. The sun is shining in. Moving on, what we're looking at here is a sculpture called Psyche Revived. This is a sculpture by Italian artist Antonio Canova, and it's regarded as a masterpiece of neoclassical sculpture. It shows the mythological lovers at a time of great emotion. So that's Psyche Revived. Look at that. Another view of that. Psyche Revived. Moving on, I'm not sure exactly what this room is, but I believe it was a music room used by the Empress. Perhaps they had concerts here, and she perhaps used it as a reception room. Yes, but this certainly a cheerful room with the blue ceiling and walls, the many windows. Beautiful chandeliers. You see the artwork there on the ceiling. 3 doorways there. Moving on, what we have here is the painting by Rembrandt called The Return of the Prodigal Son. It was among Rembrandt's final works, and it depicts the moment of the prodigal son's return to his father in the biblical parable. If you remember the parable, the one son left his father and went out and squandered his inheritance, sort of wasted his life, and then came back, to the father begging, forgiveness. And the father was overjoyed to see him, celebrated. While his brother, who had been dutiful to the father and left it and remained at home, was jealous. So the return of the prodigal son. Okay. Moving on here, we see a sled that was probably used by the Tsars on the Neva River when it froze. Remember that painting that we looked at earlier, sledding on the Neva? What we're looking at here is the Malachite room. The Malachite room was constructed in the late 1830s as a formal reception room for Empress Alexandra Fyodorova, she was the wife of Nicholas I. The room gets its name from the use of malachite for its columns and fireplace. You can see the green there, columns, and the green around the fireplace. Another beautiful room. You see the golden doors there on your right, and on your left, directly ahead as well. Okay, what we're looking at here is a painting of Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great. I'm not sure who the artist is, but she certainly looks regal in that gown. So moving on, what we're looking at here is a street scene outside the Hermitage, looking towards the river. What we're looking at here is a picture of across the river, looking towards the Peter and Paul fortress that I took while on a boat trip along the Neva River. So the picture's coming up from that boat trip. A closer view there from the boat of the Peter and Paul fortress and the Peter and Paul Cathedral. I'm not sure what this sailing ship is. It's certainly a 3-masted ship. I tried to look up that flag and see what country it might have been from, but I wasn't able to find out. Perhaps a training ship of some kind. Okay, view from the back of the boat towards the bridge across the Neva here. Here you see a hydrofoil boat, very fast boat, going along the river. There were a number of them that we saw. Here is a picture of the Angel Tree Hotel, taking outside my hotel in in St. Petersburg. The hotel was directly across the street from St. Isaac's Cathedral. What we're looking at here is the Mikhailovsky Theater. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. But this theater is one of Russia's oldest opera and ballet houses. It was established in 1833 by Nicholas I, and our group attended a production of the Swan Lake Ballet there. There's a picture here inside the theater. You can see all the balconies there and the beautiful ceiling work. Okay, moving on. What we're looking at here is the outside of the Peterhof Palace. This palace and gardens were made for Peter the Great. It started off as a country home in 1709, but changed after Peter's visit to the French royal court in 1717, and then becoming what many now call the Russian Versailles. So Peter was pretty impressed by what he saw in France and decided to replicate it here in Peterhof. See that beautiful building there with the golden domes, the Russian flag on the right. The Peterhof gets its name from its location in Peterhof area of St. Petersburg. And the palace is known for its extensive gardens and fountains. It has many fountains. Take a look here. See some of those fountains? The interesting thing about these fountains is that there's no water being pumped. It's all done by gravity. It's a gravity-fed system. There's no pumps. See the beautiful golden statues there among the fountains? Here we're looking at a picture in the gardens of Peterhof. Here we're looking, you can see that channel of water surrounded by fountains along its length. Beautiful golden sculptures here, fountains. Another view here, showing the beautiful golden fountains. There's countless fountains here. Here we see some of these fountains looking back towards the palace in the background there. It's beautiful. Another view here of some of the fountains with the palace in the background. You can enter the palace, but you can't take pictures. Okay, here's a picture looking back towards the entrance of Peterhof, with the Russian flag there on the left. Here we're back in the gardens with the fountain directly ahead. Here we see a cascading waterfall that cascades along a chessboard with statues on running along both sides. Here we're back in the gardens with some gorgeous flowers here. These pictures were taken in August, so it was a bright, sunny day, summer day. Here's another fountain here in the gardens. There's another beautiful fountain here. Beautiful golden fountain. Here we're getting a view here of the palace itself. It's quite large. And that's it, folks. I hope that you have enjoyed that. And just a reminder that I will be back on August 13th to tell you about Iceland.